Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 218 of Hobby Quick Hits. Today's episode deals with what do I look for when I buy a vintage card? And I get asked that a lot because I doing the SGC bulk subbing, I often get asked that, like, what do you look for when you're buying a card? Whether you're grading it or not, like what are the first things you notice? What can you give a pass on? What can you not give a pass on? What's a deal breaker? So I will be talking about that today because it's a question I get quite often, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? That different people may answer that in different ways. Centering might be bigger to one than corners to another. Surface may be a huge deal to one and not a big deal to somebody else. So again, there's no right answers here. I'm only sharing sort of my approach when buying vintage cards, and even graded ones, right? When I look at a graded card, sure, it's got a grade, right? But no two graded cards look exactly alike. So where do I put the emphasis, right? So that's what this show is going to be talking about, the topic. And I'll get into a little bit even with modern and ultra modern there. Kind of my theory on the difference between a 9 and a 10, which is not as much as you would think. The prices are, but maybe the appearance isn't. So that's what we're tackling today, going over some news, product release schedule as well. So with that being said, let's hear from our great sponsor, the sports card shop at Moco, and then we'll get the show started.
Okay, now a quick word from our great sponsor, followed by the new product release schedule. Then we'll go around the hobbyverse to tell you all the latest hobby happenings and news. Then we'll tackle today's topic of discussion.
Hi, this is Pat Hughes, Cubs announcer, coming to you from the Sports Card Shop in beautiful New Buffalo, Michigan. The Gocher family has built an incredible place here for collectors to buy, sell, and trade cards and memorabilia. Be sure to stop by and let them show you around. TheSportsCardShop.com, connecting sports, athletes, the hobby, and collectors around the world.
Hi. This is Alan Pinkett, and I'm here to tell you the Gocher family has done it again. They've just opened up the Sport Card Shop in downtown Valparaiso, Indiana, and it is awesome. If you're a collector, you need to check this place out. Tell them Alan sent you and get a free gift on your first visit.
All right, let's get into the new product release schedule for the next couple weeks. It's the Christmas season as well, so maybe some of these products will be under your tree or someone else's tree that you were nice enough to have Santa bring it to them. Let's start with the 17th. These are all December 17th releases. 2025 Panini National Treasures Racing. 2026 Sage Football Low Series Blaster and Hobbies. 2025 Topps Cosmic Chrome Baseball. 2025 Topps Chrome Update Series Baseball Megas. 2025 Topps Heritage High Number Baseball. 2024-25 Upper Deck Ingrained Icons Hockey. Let's go to the following day, the 18th of December, 2025-26, Topps Chrome, Basketball, Blasters, Breakers Delight, Hobby, Jumbos, and Megas. Same day, the 18th, 2025, Topps Chrome, Labubu, 10th Anniversary. Don't ask me, I have no idea. 2024-25, Topps UEFA Champions League Definitive Soccer. Let's go to the 19th now. 2025 Leaf Metal Authentics Volume 2. 2025 Panini National Treasures Collegiate Football. 2024-25 Topps UEFA Club Competitions Merlin Chrome Soccer Hobby and Breakers Delight. Yu-Gi-Oh! Phantom Revenge. 2025 Panini Rookie and Stars Football. Moving now to the 23rd of December 2025 Panini Impeccable WNBA. 2025 Topps Marvel Studios Chrome, Blasters, and Breakers Delights. Christmas Eve brings you a few products. 2025 Panini Flawless Baseball. 2025 Panini Prism Racing. 2025 Pulse Stratos Baseball Hobby Heat Seekers. Day after Christmas, 2025 Leaf Eclectic Signature Series Football Hobby and Mythical versions. Same day, 26, 2025 Leaf Red Carpet. The 29th brings you 2025 Topps 5-Star Baseball. The 30th will bring you 2025 Onyx Vintage Football, Hobbies and Megas. 2025 Topps Star Wars Hyperspace. 2024-25 Topps UEFA Club Competitions Merlin Chrome Soccer Blaster. Also, same product, but Museum Collection, Hat Trick, and Hobby. And last couple here, closing out the last day of December, the 31st, 2025, Historic Autographs, President of the United States, the White House. In 2024-25, Topps UEFA Club Competitions Inceptions Soccer. Lots of products there, almost 30 to be exact, for your ripping pleasure. So choose wisely. Happy ripping.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
And find out. All right, let's start with a big sale of a single card, the 2003 Exquisite Emblems of Endorsements. Kobe Bryant, PSA 8, numbered to 15, but numbered 8 of 15, his jersey number. Just sold with buyer's premium for $1.22 million, a record for that card. Speaking of record sales, there's a new bobblehead champion of 2025. It was the new Pope, hailing from Chicago. But move over. Pope, another person from the Midwest, the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame, who produces a lot of these bobbleheads, released a Indiana football coach, Curt Cignetti. Sold out quicker than the Pope, which sold out pretty fast in its own right, and so much so they actually did something they normally don't do. They made a second printing, a second edition. Another reason they made that second edition is Coach Cignetti has putting all his proceeds from the bobblehead, donating them to the Riley's Children's Hospital, I believe, of Indiana. So very cool on Coach Cignetti, right? We just got some crazy Midwest coach news, right? Let's talk about a good story. So good on you, Coach Cignetti. All proceeds going to the Riley's Children's Hospital on his bobblehead. Those available from the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame. Let's talk about some exclusive signings starting in F1. F1 superstar Max Verstappen signing a e-commerce global deal with Fanatics. He'll have his own website run by Fanatics, which will feature his autos, relics, race gear, inscriptions, and things of those ilk. Exclusive deal with Fanatics. Another one. Icon Shop Limited of the UK is extending their long-time 20-plus year deal with Lionel Messi. They're just extending it, his exclusive autograph deal, but they announced that they'll be using something called triple lock technology. And this is pretty cool. I read up on it. It's like the name says, triple lock, 3 verifications, right? The item itself and the COA will have matching tamper-proof holograms. There'll be an actual photo of each item that's being signed that will correspond with the item you purchase. And every item will have an NFC chip embedded inside it, which can be scanned by a phone and give all the pertinent information. So maybe we'll see more of that technology, especially with all the scandals that's coming out with forgeries and autographed items.
Another one.
One more signing. Upper Deck, as we know, does mainly hockey, not only hockey, but mainly hockey. Had a deal with the Canadian, hockey team, juniors. Now it extends. For the first time ever, they've signed a long-term deal with the USA hockey young juniors. So we'll start seeing products with the USA junior hockey team pretty quickly here. No details given, but just phrased as a long-term deal. And I just think that good on Upper Deck, right? They're an American company, and now they have the USA hockey under contract. Speaking of new deals, right? There's going to be a new show on the Major League Baseball Network, a channel I watch quite a bit of. Sundays, every Sunday, a 30-minute program with longtime host Greg Amsinger. It's going to be called Pack in Time. Now, it's not really a hobby show per se, and it's sort of a manufactured hobby show, but each episode, he will have a stack of cards, and he will pick a card from that stack to reveal who he is interviewing on that week's episode. So it's not random. That would have been cool if that could have been done some way, but there is a baseball card tie-in. One of the things with the show is no Hall of Famers. These will all be non-Hall of Fame players, kind of a where are they now and checking back in with them. I know Shawan Dunston is one of the first ones they are doing. Congratulations to one of our show guest alumnus. Ray Schulte has a new title, formerly of the National fame, and others. He did stuff before the National. He is now working with the Front Row Card Show to kind of build that juggernaut up as they expand their operation. So congrats to Ray. I'll reach out to him to personally do that, but wanted to announce that here. Speaking of the National, let's finish with a little national news. They announced there'll be 150 more dealer tables at this year's National. Some will be on the main floor, and others will be, if you remember from last year, on that second floor expansion. It was pretty tight in there last year, but I think they are going to open that up a little bit more, or at least we can only hope. So that's the news, and let's get back to the program.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, let's get into the topic at hand, right? What do I look for when I buy cards? Especially PC, right? Vintage cards for my PC, whether it be a Jackie. I collect Hall of Fame rookie cards. I tend to buy them already graded, truth be told, but that's not 100% across the board. I do buy cards raw that are going into my PC and then grade them myself as well. So I do both. I buy them already graded, I buy them raw, and then get them graded. And that's interesting too, buying them raw, because I'm trying to obviously buy the best looking raw cards to get the best potential grade, and obviously there's a budget involved, right? I don't have a endless amount of bank account, right? So I gotta be, I don't want to say strategic, but I gotta be smart about how I go about that, right? And whenever you buy a raw card, especially with the intent to grade it, right, you can lose potentially there. Now generally when I buy a raw card to grade, it's usually for my PC, so that loss is what it is, right? I'm I don't want to say I'm not worried about it, but it's a little bit different than if I was buying it to resale and be upside down. And so you kind of, when you look at a raw card, what I do is I always try to, I'm not a grader, but I've done grading enough, doing the bulk subbing. I've kind of got a knack for looking at a raw card and maybe sort of assessing it with what grade I think it is around, right? And then knowing what that would go for already graded, try to, bargain the price based on that. Again, there's no guarantees. I may say, man, that looks like a 4 or 5. Purchase it, and it gets a 3, right? Or 3.5, or 4, Again, there's no guarantees in this hobby, as we all know. So you've got to, you got to put your own assessments on it. I'm fairly accurate, but no one's perfect. And again, grading is subjective to begin with. So how many times, right, do someone crack a 4 out and it comes back a 5, right? Or someone crack out a 5, think it's even higher, and then it comes back a 4 and they lose, right? It's all subjective. It's hate to say it like this, it's almost like a game. It's almost like a lottery ticket. But if you do it long enough, you sort of can assess a card and in your own mind at least sort of get a little target range of what grade you think it does fall into. And, it's funny doing the bulk subbing, people will come up to my table and ask me, what do you think this will get when I sub it with? And I said, listen, I'll give you my opinion, but it's not the end all be all. I'm not the grader, and don't hold me to it. And if it grades lower, don't hate me. And if it grades higher, good for you, right? And so I usually will give my opinion. And a lot of times it's funny when they come back. I always forget. I'm dealing with so many cards, but that person a lot of times will say, "John, you're pretty spot on or pretty close." So again, comes with experience and just kind of knowing what they look for. When it comes to grading, folks, too, I don't want to make this whole topic about grading because it's not. But remember, they're looking at under minimum 10 times magnification. So you should be doing really the same. All right, so what do I look for? What are my, we all hear eye appeal, right? And that almost goes without saying, right? A card can look better than its actual grade. And I have a Jackie Robinson rookie that fits that bill. I have a Hank Aaron rookie that fits that bill. That, the Jackie's 1.5, the Aaron's 3.5. They both look, if you've seen them, and maybe, you're one of the folks that have, but anyone that sees them said, man, those, you should resubmit them because we think those would get higher grades, right? Not going to do it most likely, but that's what eye appeal that epitomizes what eye is about. Something that looks better than the grade is. And eye appeal comes in with grading, right? Eye appeal is not so much a raw card because it's not graded yet and it is what it is, right? So when I look at a card, right, when I look at a raw card, what's kind of a deal breaker? I asked that, like, what do you look at and say I'm out, right? And to me, centering is one of the first things I notice. If something's really not centered very well, that's gonna, I don't want to say turn me off. I guess maybe that is the best way to say it. I'm sort of gonna be already sort of down. More so obviously on the front, but even the back, right? Especially if the back is really off center, that's a deal breaker. Now, does that mean I won't buy it? No, not necessarily. It just means what I might pay for it. That number just got a lot lower. But there are cards that the centering has, like, I was interested, I got a closer look, and then I'm like, I don't think I want to do it. So centering's probably the first one. Number 2, surface for me too. I don't like missing paper. I like to be able to, when it comes to card backs, especially on a vintage card, I like to read that bio or the words on the back. Right. I don't want to, even though we may know who the player is, right? I don't want a missing name on the back. I really don't like paper loss unless it's a really fine little small piece, maybe on the corners or around the edges. But if it's in the middle of the card, especially on the front and even the back, right, where it affects the wording and you can't read the whole thing. That one hurts too for me. So surface, we'll go centering, surface, creases, right? I don't mind, especially obviously on vintage cards, but I don't mind a small crease. I rather have a surface wrinkle. In case for those that don't know, and I do get asked this, so I know not everyone does know. I apologize if you know and you're like, John, thanks for telling me something I know. But what's the difference between a surface wrinkle and a crease? It's pretty simple. A crease goes through the front and back. It's parallel, so wherever the crease is, you turn it over, you can see it on the back. A surface wrinkle, you'll see it on one side and not the other. And that could be on the back too. You could have a surface wrinkle on the back, it doesn't go through the front, and vice versa. It could be on the front, doesn't go through the back. Obviously, the lesser of two evils, the surface wrinkle, rather have that than a crease. A crease is not a deal breaker unless it's just a bunch of them. Also, where the crease appears, right? Especially if there's just one. Where is it? Is it right in the middle of the card, like the card was like almost folded in half? Is it towards the edges, the border? That has a lot to do with it. Obviously, the more in focus the crease is, like the main part of the card, the more of a deal breaker it might be for me. If it's towards the edges or bottoms, you may not like it, but I might be able to say, you know what, I'm okay with that. That's not a deal breaker for me. And probably my last one that is my least bothersome is corners, right? With vintage cards. Obviously, we all want the sharpest corners we can get, right? But you're going to pay for those as well, right? Corners don't bother me too much. And it's probably when I talk about my Jackie rookie, which was my Grail card, it's probably what brought the grade down, right? The corners are not sharp. They're not crushed either. They're not terrible, but they're not very good either. But the rest of the card presents very well. So that's, sometimes you got to decide what the trade-offs you're willing to make. It's like buying a card. Like, I need the heated seats, but I don't need the sunroof, right? I need the sunroof. I'm not worried about the heated seats. I live in Florida, not me, but, so whatever you deem is something you can't ignore or you need, it works like that in cards as well, not just cars. I know I gave you a car analogy there. So for corners, for me, is probably my least deal breaker. Now, if it looks like a wheel that you could put on your car and use as a spare till you get a regular tire, that would obviously be a deal breaker. But if it's just a little rounding, a little frayed, and it doesn't really affect the provenance of the rest of the card or the main, picture, then I can sort of give it a pass, right? Color, we talk about, you're going back to the surface, right? Color is huge, but many of these cards are over 100 years old, 80 years old, 60 years old when we're talking vintage, right? I don't mind a little fading, right? It's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen, quite frankly. Cards are always deteriorating in some form or fashion. Obviously, if it's encased in a slab as a graded specimen, that deterioration is going to be slower than something that's raw and out, taking, sunlight and other forms of light that might break down some of those materials. But a little fading don't bother me, but if it looks whitewashed, yeah, that's going to be a deal breaker as well to me. It doesn't have to be perfect color, but it can't be too bad as well. What about snow, right? Print snow. I know I have a buddy of mine that hates that. He won't look at any card that has any print snow, and I always have this little, I don't want to say argument, but a little debate with him. Like, that's so hard. Some specific cards, it's hard to find cards without that print snow, right? Or those pixel dots. Like, one of the first ones that I think of is the 60 Yaz rookie, right? Great card, not a crazy expensive card, but a lot of them have those black dots. It almost kind of is part of the card, right? Every once in a while you see one that doesn't. But with my buddy's theory, he won't even look at that card if it has that. You're eliminating about 80% of the as rookies by doing it. Obviously, if it's excessive, yes, but most of them have it. It's just to what degree. So a little bit of that isn't a deal breaker for me. Maybe a lot is. I guess it depends on the card, where that print snow form, is on the card again. When we look at a card, right, where do our eyes just naturally go as humans, right? To the picture on the front of the card. So that's the first thing we're going to look at. And then we're going to work out from there. And again, I'm just talking about the front here first, right? We're going to look at that main body of the card, and then we're going to work out from there. So the less defects or flaws in that main body of the card, the more I'm obviously going to be interested. Again, that's just me. There's some people that, might say otherwise or different, right? Again, there's no right answers here. I'm just kind of sharing my takes on what I look for when it comes to buying vintage cards. So print snow, not a huge deal breaker to me, unless it's really bad. Paper loss is. Corners, I probably give the biggest pass on. Centering is one of the first things I look at. I don't like a real off-centered card, or even, I don't want to say real. Not too many people like a real off-centered card, but I'm a little more of a stickler, I would say, on the centering than some of the other things, characteristics that we talked about. So, I get asked a lot, do you ever buy graded cards and then with the purpose like that's undergraded and break them out? And the answer is really no. I've done grading or been involved in some facet of grading, whether it's grading my own cards or being a bulk subber for 30 years. I've been a bulk subber now working on 3 years, but I graded my first card 30 years ago, and maybe longer. I don't even know anymore. But when it comes to breaking, I've broken out 2 cards in my whole life. Maybe that makes me on the lower end of the spectrum. I don't know. But it's only been 2 cards. Could that number be higher? For sure. I've been told some of my personal collection, John, I'd resend that. Doesn't mean I'll do it, but I've heard that on more than one occasion. So I've only actually done it twice. And frankly, the 2 cards I did it to weren't even PC cards. They were actually cards for my show inventory that I really thought were undergraded. And, full disclosure, I was right on one and I was wrong on one. So the 2 times I've done it, one time I got a higher grade, one time I got the same grade. So again, nobody is, going to be 100%, myself obviously included. How about modern cards, right? Modern, ultra modern, right? Obviously, most of these are coming out of packs. That doesn't mean they're coming out of the packs gem mint. We all know that. Quality control can be a lost art sometimes. When I buy modern and ultra modern cards, I'm not looking at them with a fine-tooth comb or even magnification. I'm looking at them with the naked eye. If something, to me, if you can see something with the naked eye on a modern, ultra modern card, right there's your answer, right? Probably not going to purchase that because, I'm fine with a 9 or a 10 on a modern card. I know there are people who will turn on their mic and tell you it's 10 or bust, right? I'm not that guy. An 8 is definitely hurts, right? On a modern ultra modern card. But 9, even an 8.5, I don't hate. I don't love either. But a 9 or a 10 is what I strive for on a modern ultra modern card. And do yourself a favor. If you have a 9 and a 10 of the same card, put them next to each other. Right? Or if you're at a show and the dealer has a version of each of the same card, put them next to each other. And honestly, they're not going to look, and 9 times out of 10, no pun intended, those 2 versions are not going to look that much much different from each other. With the main exception, that 9 is probably going to cost you significantly less than the 10. And how, I know a guy, not something I do, but I have another acquaintance that I know he loves going around and buying 9s that, he looks at them first of cards he's interested with the sole purpose of cracking them and resending them, hoping to make them 10s, right? And I asked him, I saw him at the show a couple weeks ago, and I asked him, like, what is your, knowing what he's doing, I'm like, what is your success rate with the nines you're buying that you turn into tens? And he told me about 65%. So 35, I'm sure I asked him, he goes, yeah, I kind of keep track. It's not exact science, but around that success rate. He goes, he has to be around that rate to, be profitable, to come out ahead. He said anything lower than really 60%, it's not worth the money he's spending to do it. So he says he's very picky. Like, he doesn't buy, obviously, every nine. He asks to see it, and he's looking at it. He tells me, and I've seen him do this. He has a little pocket loop, and he'll look at that nine, even though it's already graded. He'll take out that pocket loop magnification and look at that nine through the slab with the intent, like, hey, can I make this a 10? I think most dealers who he buys from, myself included, know what he does, or pretty much, even if he doesn't tell them, they could probably figure it out. It's not rocket science. And here he says he bats about 65 percent, turning those in the tens. He's told me he's bought a couple of my nines and was successful. And so, someone would ask, does that make you feel bad? No, because I don't really crack and resubmit. I just told you I only do that with 2 cards. So he puts in the work. He should reap the rewards, right? If I wanted to do that, frankly, I don't have the time to really do that kind of stuff, but he does, and awesome for him, and glad he did well with a couple of purchases from me, and hopefully he'll come back knowing that's the case, and buy some more. And I see him not necessarily every show, but he does come back, and sometimes we could make a sale. So and he's not the only person that does it. I think we all know that. Maybe you do that listening to this podcast. And nothing wrong with that, right? To each their own. And he's done well with it. And he told me not every card he does that with is for resale. Some of it are just PC cards he likes as well, but he wants them only in tens rather than nines. So he kind of, it's like a lottery ticket. He scratches it with that basis in mind. So there you go. So, again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What might be a deal breaker for you might not be a deal breaker for someone else. I say corners aren't a deal breaker for me. Maybe for you listening, you're like, man, corners is the first thing I notice, and I don't want bad ones, right? And you're not wrong, and I'm not wrong, right? It's beauty's in the eye again of the beholder. So I thought I'd share kind of what I do, my approach, and that sort of thing. And again, they're card collecting sort of like fingerprints. No two people do it exactly the same. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.